Yeah, there's just no way we played the same game. This video will contain spoilers for Sonic Superstars. Proceed at your own risk. If I'm honest, I'm someone who really does not like numbered reviews. The reason being is because I feel as though when people see a review and they just look at the number, they don't really understand the specifics of why the number is what it is. Instead, they just see the number and go, oh, it's good, or oh, it's bad, and then make their judgment call based on that information. Based on that, if a game stinks, you'll see a big number 2 by the review score. If a game is great, you'll see like a 9 or an 8. But if a game is mediocre, you'll see like a 6 or a 7. Now, I'm not someone who claims to have the objective right opinion, but I will say this. In terms of this game and my experience, Sonic Superstars is far from mediocre. I would even say, as someone who's recently got into the whole classic Sonic part of the franchise, playing the games thanks to Sonic Origins, I would say Sonic Superstars to me is just as much fun as my favorite classic Sonic game, Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Thinking back on my playthrough, I'm honestly having a hard time trying to find out what I didn't like about the game. But don't worry, I'm not going to be a whole 100% purist. There were a couple things that I wasn't totally a fan of, but overall, I'd say this game is definitely worth your time. Before I go any further, let me talk a bit about what I loved about Sonic Superstars. First things first, the Chaos Emeralds. The way you use them in this game is perfect. They're not like a mandatory function of the game, but they definitely make your experience so much better if you know what you're doing. And you see, this is where gimmicks actually get tough in video games. When you implement them, I feel like they should be done in this way, much like Sonic Superstars has done it, because I think when you get too gimmick heavy and you rely on them way too much, you end up releasing something that I'm not really a fan of. Sorry. I don't mean it. I'm sorry. With Sonic Superstars, the gimmick of the Chaos Emeralds is not inherently part of the game, whereas you can still end up enjoying the game and never use them at all. Basically what I'm saying is, if you don't like them, don't use them. But me, I love them. I can't begin to tell you how many times I accidentally screwed up and totally threw myself off the level, but was able to recover because I had a special element of the Chaos Emeralds to use. And even then, they're still tremendously useful in boss battles. I think a lot of the times people get tripped up and thinking they have to wait for the boss to make a move before they can do their counterattack, when in all reality, if you use the Emerald's power, you can just go ahead and fight them whenever you want to for the most part. If you don't feel like waiting, then dish out some furious attacks with the Chaos Emeralds. I'm telling you, it makes your job a whole lot easier. Admittedly though, it did take a little bit of getting used to kind of understand the wheel and the order of things and how to select everything. Although that's probably more so a skill issue than anything, I'm going to be totally honest there. But even still, once you get the hang of it, which only took maybe like 20-30 minutes, you kind of basically just progress and build up on those skills as the game goes on, and you even naturally begin to instinctively select these abilities at your own disposal to use them whenever you see fit. Like, I've gotten so used to using these chaos powers now that I'll use them outside of their intended purpose, but it still ultimately works for me because I'll be able to get things done much faster. Obviously, some have more usage than others, but that isn't to say that any of them feel useless or meaningless. I think all of them definitely have their own place, and you use them a fair amount, even with some of the worst ones there are. I also really like the way you unlock these Chaos Emeralds with the new special stages. Much like the game to its entirety, I think they're a lot of fun, and they're not really that difficult. And I don't say this as a bad thing. I actually really like the difficulty in Sonic Superstars. It felt, refreshing to have a Sonic game once again that wasn't insanely over-the-top challenging like Sonic Frontiers Update 3, in my opinion, or, really easy like some other Sonic games. It was kind of moderately paced because there were some moments that I thought were more difficult than others, but for the most part, the game is, it's not hard. But going back to the special stages found in Sonic Superstars, they were new, they were fresh, and they were fun. I think quite a bit of them required you to do a lot more thinking than you usually would, as you couldn't just aimlessly swing in the direction of the Chaos Emerald or else you wouldn't catch it. Sometimes you had to go in the opposite direction, or just think before you actually acted, which was really cool. Honestly, they kind of reminded me of the UFO stages you find in Sonic Mania's special stages, or Sonic CDs. I like them, really cool. I also thought the levels themselves were really fun and engaging. I didn't think there was a point in the game where it just dropped off suddenly or having some insane level of quality drop as the game went on. No, it felt instead like they spent a considerable amount of time on each and every single one of these zones. And that isn't to say that all of them are really fun and they're perfect or anything like that. There are definitely some that are more fun than others, but that kind of goes without saying. I mean, we all know that Egg Fortress Zone is the best in the game and Press Factory Zone is the worst, but that doesn't mean I didn't have fun playing them. No, but in all seriousness though, Egg Fortress Zone was so much fun. They had all these lasers shooting at you and you had to meticulously dodge them, and you could do all these cool flips in the air. And then also, with Act 2, you're literally just playing Act 1 in reverse and everything's just kind of moving backwards in time. It's so cool. I feel like my entire experience with Sonic Superstars was euphoric. From the moment I started playing at like 12 a.m. and just kept going till 4 a.m., I was just like, this game is too hard to put down, which sucks because I'm a college student and I've got classes like literally tomorrow. I'm recording this video and I've got class tomorrow. I've got things to do, but Sonic Superstars took priority in this case. I had to play this game and it was so much fun. And to me, I think that's the most important part. I think you can tell someone a game is good or a game is bad, but I think you need to tell them that the game is fun. For Superstars, in this case, I think the game is great, like I said before. I don't think it's just a great Sonic game, I think it's a great game in general. But I think there's so much fun to be had in it, and it's for that reason I'm going to keep going back to replay it over and over again. I think even the visual presentation of this game in general just screams fun. I mean, mechanics aside, look at this game. To me, I think it's just beautiful. The colors are just screaming at you and it's like, okay, I have to look at it. It just looks gorgeous. And it's not even the levels, I think it's also the character models themselves. They're so expressive in this game and they just look really fun to look at. I don't know how else to say it. Out of all of the characters you can play as in this game, I think the one I spent the most time playing as is Knuckles, and that wasn't for any other reason than the fact that he looks awesome here. When I saw this character model, I was instantly reminded of how he looked in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, at least for the artwork of the game, the 2D artwork you see for this character. He looks like he literally is just ripped right out of that game and made into a 3D model, which is why I love it so much and was kind of forced to play as this character. And that isn't to say the other characters look bad. No, I think, like I said before, they all look great, but I think Knuckles was the one that really captured my attention. And this should kind of all go without saying anyway, but it's important that I mention this. All of them do play basically the same that they've played in games like Sonic Origins, where they have sort of updated movesets like Sonic can do the drop dash. It's just that stuff ported over, and it works very well. I don't think they even changed the engine or anything. It all feels like the same way it did in that game, so if you didn't like Origins, or any of the games that were in Origins rather, then I don't know if this might be the game for you, but I liked Origins and I like this. Moving on to a more heavy-hitting topic when it comes to Sonic Superstars, I've seen a lot of people complain about the soundtrack, saying that it shouldn't sound like this and it's not good. When in my personal opinion, I only think that there's maybe like one bad thing about the soundtrack, and that's just the boss battles, maybe? But even then, I don't think they're that bad. I honestly think it's a huge overreaction, but of course everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but these songs aren't like the worst thing ever. This soundtrack is good. I mean, the way people are talking about it, you would think they're describing the soundtrack of Sonic Chronicles. I apologize for the damage I've done to your ears. I don't know how I can ever repay you. But anyway, after you beat the game, you unlock Trip as a playable character and her own story. I'm honestly not too surprised that she's playable, but I am surprised she has her own story. In terms of her playstyle, I feel like she plays a lot like Amy, but she also works like the Spike Wisp from Sonic Colors. But, I mean, she's not as good as that Wisp is, as it can go on like all sides of everything. It can go on corners and stuff like that too. She can't do that, but it still is pretty cool to have her go up against walls and on ceilings and stuff like that. Oh, and let's not forget that she can turn into a freaking dragon as her super form. Nah, this is awesome, bro. I'ma use this all the time. All things considered, the game took me around 5 or 6 hours to beat to its entirety, and that's just because I was spending time going back replaying levels because I wanted to play them better than I originally played them and also get Chaos Emeralds. So if I was actually going at a regular pace and also like not going back to replay levels, it probably would have been even shorter. That said, there's a lot of replay value in this game in my opinion, just because I think the levels themselves are just fun to play. When I first started playing this game, one of the feelings I felt when playing it was a feeling of exploration. It felt as though this game really wanted you to go out of your comfort zone and explore different elements and everything this layout of the level has to offer. And that's what I did for like my entire playthrough. These levels are so inviting, and I feel like when you play as them with other characters, you're always going to notice something new or different or find a new way of doing things that makes it feel fresh every single time. I'm really happy with how Sonic Superstars turned out. It's a fun game that I think really anyone can easily get into. Fortunately though, or I guess unfortunately for me, the game is really hard to put down though. So when I'm recording this video, I'm losing time of playing Sonic Superstars. So now I'm going to get right back into it. But before I go, let me know what you guys think about the game in the comment section down below. I'd love to see what you guys have to say, and I'll reply to every single comment. Having said all of that, hopefully you enjoyed the video, and if you did, let me know by leaving a like on it, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the post notifications bell so you never miss a video from me. You guys do not want to miss what I have to say. But anyway, this is Sonic signing out. Have a super blessed day, y'all.
Why are you playing that trash?